Hello, everybody. I'm Carrie Wilt, a speaker, writer, and a heart cultivator with a soul full of sunshine who is on a mission to help you flourish. That's because not long ago, I looked down and discovered that my life had become an overplanted mess that was choking out my relationships, my creativity, and purpose. I was irritable, exhausted, and watering everything else but myself. That's when some soul-searching journal time and a late-night rereading of my great-great-grandmother's classic, The Secret Garden, unearthed this well-tended life truth, that every locked-up, weed-filled, withering life can bloom and grow again with the help of just a little magic. Now, I'm not talking about the kind of magic that needs a wand and a trick-top hat. I'm talking about a dig in, make room, prune away, work on, water well, weed, and feed your soul kind of life-tending magic that I can't wait to share with you here on this podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to The Well-Tended Life. I'm your host, Carrie Wilt, a speaker, writer, and heart cultivator who is on a mission to help you grow through any season. I'm here today with my special guest, Jess Smiley, who's graciously agreed to be a part of this series on the joy, goodness, and growth that's planted all around us. Now, this series was inspired by the words of my great-great-grandmother in her famous book, The Secret Garden. And in it, she wrote, "Mistress Mary always felt that however many years she lived, she should never forget that first morning when her garden began to grow." And it got me to thinking, I don't want to forget or not remember all of the joy, goodness, and growth that is happening all around me. I don't want to be going too fast. I want to slow down. I want to see it. And so this quote inspired me to start a morning journal practice where I go in and I reflect on the day before and I just take a moment to write down one bit of joy, goodness, and growth that I saw from the day before. And so, but I recognize that this is not easy for everyone. This has become a practice of mine. It's something I've done over and over and over, and I can spot it, but maybe you can't see it in your own life. Especially when there's storms around us, especially when we're rushing too fast, it can be quite difficult. So I've invited some of my friends from across the country, from all walks of life, to come and share with us about the joy, goodness, and growth that's happening in their lives in hopes that you might start to recognize some of it in yours. So let's dig in. Welcome, Jess.
Hey.
Hey, thank you for being here. Gosh, everyone, I met him on the internet. I follow the hashtag Secret Garden, and somehow he I don't even know if you hashtagged it, but somehow it came into my feed, and he was complaining wildly about a line in the Secret Garden. And I'll probably let him tell the story later, but that's how I stumbled across this guy. And I'm so excited for y'all to meet him because what he does and what he's doing in this world, it personally makes me smile and makes me feel good. And so tell people who you are, what you do, and give us a taste of you.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm excited to get into how your great-great-grandmother insulted me terribly.
I know. She's very naughty in her grave.
So rude, I know. My name is Jess Smiley, and I live in Utah with my wife and 3 children, and I work as an author and illustrator for young readers' books. So I've done a bunch of comics and hidden object books and picture books and middle grade books. And right now I'm working on a series of choose your own adventure graphic novels.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited about those books. And you probably noticed I'm in bed.
Yes.
And yeah, I've been in bed for the last over a year and a half now. 2 years ago, I caught the family stomach flu, and I threw up, and in the act felt something tear in my abdomen. And I went through a bunch of treatment and medication. It never got better. It started spreading to my sides, and then to my back. And once it hit my back, within about a month, I was bedridden because the pain was just so intense. And so this is where I've been for the last 19, 20 months, something like that. Long
Now,
time.
can you get out of bed at all, or is this just your 90% in bed and the rest of the time you can, or are you just totally flat out?
Yeah, I can get up. Thank heavens to use the restroom, because I do know people that can't do that, and it's awful for them. But I have to make those moments count, and I really have to. If I'm getting up, I got to make the most of it, and I'll try and walk around the kitchen while I'm up, or a little bit of movement. But I'm mostly in bed. Yeah.
Is there any prognosis for being able to fix this? I know you have been to a million different doctors, it feels like. Is there any, I hate to say hope, because there's always hope, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's 44 medical professionals at this point, and most of them I've seen multiple times. And I've been given diagnoses and then had them retracted, and then given other diagnoses and then they were retracted. And the most they've been able to figure is there's something autoimmune, some autoimmune condition that might be at play, but I guess my blood labs and all the tests they've done are kind of all over the place, so they can't really pinpoint this thing. So it can be really frustrating not knowing, and not having, the doctors not knowing, how do we get out of this situation? How do we improve it? But like you said, there is always hope. I am hopeful. I'm still here today. I have hope I'll be here tomorrow. And if I am, then I believe there's a reason for that, and that I should make the most out of it.
Well, and don't let this guy fool you. He's not just laying in bed doing nothing by any stretch of the imagination. As you said, you've got books. I mean, you're always creating something. Have you always, I guess, been a creator? Did you grow up loving to do things like that?
Yeah. When I was, I don't know, 6 or something, I thought I wanted to be an inventor. And I remember sitting in church with Dad, and Dad and me now, we're both, is it nearsighted? If you can see clearly up close? I always confuse them.
Yeah, don't ask me. I have no idea.
See up close, but if you're far away, if you're speaking from the pulpit, we got to put the glasses on.
Right,
and
okay.
So Dad would, he'd be watching the speaker, and then he'd take his glasses off and pull out a pencil, and he would take notes, or sometimes do a crossword puzzle in church. Don't tell him I said that.
I won't let him know that you ratted him out.
And so I thought, he takes when his glasses are on, he doesn't need his pencil, but when he takes his glasses off, he's using the pencil and doesn't need the glasses. So little Jess came up with an invention where the earpiece, the side piece, was a removable pencil. And so you stick it in to wear his glasses, and then when you don't need them, you remove it, and then you can write or draw or whatever. That was I don't know how old I was, little Jess invention. But what I did to communicate that invention, because it didn't exist, was I drew a picture of it and I labeled it. I wrote, pencil goes in here, here's how you take it out. I used words and pictures, and I haven't stopped being fascinated with the power and abilities that come with using words and pictures. So and I always think that's so fascinating, because I could have just told him about it, I could have described it, but I used words and pictures, and that's a mystery that I'm happy to let it be a mystery, and I celebrate it,
Oh, I love that. I think, everybody says till, you look back and there's always a I don't know if it's a reflection, but there's always a seed of, you know, what you're supposed to be doing later on, you know, in those early, just really raw, innocent days, because you're doing things out of gut intuition of how you would do them, not how, you know, you're not to that point where someone has told you, no, 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 this is the way you communicate. You just did it the way, you know, Jess knew how.
Right.
And thank goodness, because, you know, the illustrations that you do create are communicating much more than probably even sometimes your words might be able to.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. Wow. I love it. So clearly, you know, you've kind of given us a taste for the season that you're in. So I mean, not only are you, you know, a husband and a father of two. How old are your kids?
Yes, so I have three children. They're 13. Yeah, 13, 9, and 3. Almost 4.
Oh
yeah.
My goodness.
Yeah.
And so also a creator, you know, a supporter of friends. I know you're really a good champion and cheerleader for the people around you as well. You know, but you're doing all of this kind of in a season of, I guess, strange rest. You know, I'm not sure how you would describe the season you're in, because
a good description.
You know, you're definitely you know, having to sit and stay and be in a way that I think maybe most of us have just gotten a taste of, you know, with this whole quarantine and COVID.
Yeah.
But so then talk to me about, in this season right now, talk to me about joy. What is something that, or some things, or that is currently bringing you joy?
Yeah, for sure. The work that I do brings me joy, and that's kind of it's kind of weird. It's like an expected joy, you know, because I know that I love this activity of writing, of drawing, and the fact that I get paid to do it, and work with an amazing publisher and their team is wonderful. And because it's kind of planned, I feel like there's also there's that obligation aspect of it. But if I can sit down and pull out my guitar, which I play, it's just a hobby for me. But if I can just play some music, it's amazing how quickly. A few days ago, I was pretty depressed. We had a lot of tension, I mean, nationwide the last, couple of weeks, and it really put me in a funk. I felt like something like kind of break a little bit inside me. And when I started playing music, things started making more sense. And I'm not sure how else to put it, but that was a joy that was absent before. And then I can start playing music, and things start lining up a little bit. They make more sense. There's this comics creator. She's also a teacher. Her name is Linda Berry. She's hilarious, and she teaches writing workshops as well. But she poses this question a lot. She says, "Do the things that we call the arts serve a biological function?" And she has a few books where she poses that question, and I was going through that in my mind. The second I start playing music, I know that they serve a biological function, and I can't describe the mechanism. I can't, pop open the hood and point out all the parts and pieces, but I know the effect it has on me. So
I actually interviewed someone last week who will be the episode right before this. So go back and listen to Danielle Freytag, and she actually quotes from her book. And I have no idea what the technical terms are, but it's like maybe the hippocampus or something. There are these little things that when music is in the air, that it actually changes the way it acts, and it completely changes the way you go about your day. And the power that music has is undeniable, whether we can explain it or not. You can be in a funk. Do you have certain music that does that for you, or is it the act of creating it, or is it? I know you actually. I just saw you posted. You had you had a small confession about maybe Dave Matthews and a secret obsession with finding those concerts. Is that a part of plugging into that joy part of your brain?
Maybe I should have waited to post that until after the interview. Well, first I have to say, I wouldn't call it an obsession. It's just...
Oh, sorry. I used a strong word.
But it was definitely, I didn't want people to know that every now and then I look on YouTube for a Dave Matthews concert. Listening to music definitely helps, and you could... most music works for that, but for me it's playing, and it's maybe it's exploring and discovering, and
okay.
and just without expectation. I'm just kind of like Paul Klee talks about, drawing is taking a line for a walk, and so I'm kind of doing that with music, where like, maybe no one's ever going to hear this. Maybe it won't even be a song. Maybe it's just, I'm exploring sounds. But when I do that and I put them in my iPad, I've got GarageBand, and I can layer them real fast. They're harmonies, and things just start making more sense. It's something that I have control over. There's an end product, and it's just really a satisfying process. So,
talk to me about expectations. Because I think that expectations are probably the biggest barrier to creativity. I find even within myself, it's the first thing that'll ruin my experience if I go into it with my hands, gripped too tight of what I want this writing thing to be, or painting, or whatever the creative aspect it has. It sounds to me like you have a very open mind about expectations. Is that something that you have gotten to over the years? Have you struggled with expectations in the past?
Yeah. Yes to all of that.
All of those.
To all of it. Because I noticed that I definitely have, expectations create an attachment of sorts, because you expect whatever to be this thing, and it's usually most often not that thing exactly. Especially with, like you said, creating something, you've got what's in your mind and in your brain, and the effect you want it to have, and then you start writing, or you start drawing, or you start playing, and it's not quite that. But the beautiful thing about that, if you pay attention, like I for me at least, drawing is equal parts paying attention to the subject matter, the thing itself that I'm depicting, that I'm drawing, but it's also paying attention to the drawing as it happens, because it will inform me. It will tell me things that the subject is not. Does that make sense?
Yes. No.
Yeah. So it's like,
perfect sense.
Yeah, if we're talking, like, not, we're trying to articulate a certain message, but then we also pay attention to the way we say it, and maybe that will actually spark something else that wouldn't have come up otherwise. All of our little idiosyncrasies, sorry.
Yes.
So expectations. In 12th grade, I was really nervous about, I've always been like an avid journaler. I know you journal. And I've had a journal since I was 8 years old, and a sketchbook since I was about 12. And I noticed that I was being way too precious about everything about my sketchbooks and my journal. I was trying to write in this elevated way, trying to wax poetic or something. And then in my sketchbooks, like, I would only show people or share work that I thought was really good. So they thought,
Right.
oh, everything he does is really good. So in 12th grade, I decided to just write and draw in pen instead of pencil first, because then I have to commit, and the expectations are, if I mess up, either I turn it into something else or I accept it and I move on, and it's there.
Yeah.
And so that was a challenge I gave myself, and still, like, I have 80 plus sketchbooks now, and most of them are just directly in pen. I'm not trying to prove anything to anyone. It puts me in the place of paying attention and exploring and discovering, and without the expectations. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, when I started to do lives on social media, that's the whole reason I did them live and didn't record them, because I wanted to just let it go and be in the moment, and whatever it becomes, it becomes. But I found that when I would try to record and then go back, and then I'd stop, and then I'd start again, and then I'd stop, and then I'd start again. The flow doesn't, it almost like it hinders the flow when you're not in that state. Hey friends, I know you're loving my interview with Jess, but I wanted to break in and ask you for a favor. Did you know that every time you leave a positive review on Apple Podcast, or make a comment on our YouTube channel, or one of the Well-Tended Life's social media posts, it unlocks the doors for others to experience the life tending magic too. So don't just watch, listen, and scroll on by. Next time, take a minute and leave us a positive review. Tell a friend to like or follow the Well-Tended Life, share a post, or simply comment away when a topic strikes your fancy. I also want to remind you to make sure that you're signed up for our weekly newsletter so that you don't miss out on what's growing on here at the Well-Tended Life. So head on over to thewelltendedlife.com and plant your email in the subscribe box. Then each week, I'll send out a quick note to all of my Well-Tended Life friends that features inside information on growth, goodness, and general goings on that you don't want to miss. And now let's listen in to the goodness of the rest of this chat with Jess. So music is what's bringing you joy right now.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like more creating of the music than anything else. Talk to me about things. Basically, for me, I call it goodness, but for me, what goodness is the goodness that I'm grateful for. What are some things right now that you're just feeling very grateful for in this season?
Oh man, I mean, I think I'd have a harder time finding what I'm not grateful for, honestly.
Yes.
Because yeah, I'm stuck in bed. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm just nauseous, and I have vertigo like almost constantly, and it's a huge challenge. But outside of that, almost everything is going really well. I have people in my life who love me. I love them. We serve each other. We help each other. That makes all the difference. 100%, all the difference. I have resources within my grasp. You know, I've got a guitar here that I can play. I've got, you know, people online that I can reach out to, or just share a message. There are amazing books I can read. What it comes down to for me, the most thing I'm grateful for probably is my agency. Hey, I'm stuck here. I know that there are a lot of things that I can't do that I used to be able to do.
Right.
I can't ride my bike. I can't go hiking. I can't go swimming. I can't just go to the park. I can't meet up with friends. I can't do any of those things. But what I can do is I can still make my own choices. So, you know, there are a lot of things happening to me, and I get to choose, how am I going to respond to this? And no one else is in control of that, just me. So that's an incredible blessing that I'm just so grateful for. Just being able to make my own choices and decisions. Yeah.
I love that. And it's true. It is our choice what we deal with the circumstances that we have in front of us.
Yeah.
It's funny, you were listing out all the things that you can't do, and your words, although yes, you are bedridden, I've seen those same words reflected from friends all over the country over the last few months. And knowing that although, yeah, maybe these things have been taken away, you still have a choice in how you do use your time and what you do have, and take advantage of that is right in front of you. I can't imagine having to do this, and even what you're having to go through in a time when you didn't have it, iPads and things where you can connect in a way, because community can be right here, right? I mean, hello, we're in 2 different states and we get to have a conversation. You're not truly just stuck in your room all by yourself anymore.
Yeah, well, yeah, and along those lines, maybe just to, I don't know, wrap up that train of thought. Like for me, something I think about constantly is, I mean, if you're doing something hard or difficult, or that you don't want to do, but you're investing your time and your effort, you better make it worth it. Otherwise, you're just suffering. You're just suffering. And I think about that, like, well, yeah, I'm stuck in bed here, but if I don't make the most of it, that's on me. If I just sit here and I just complain and I just dwell on that stuff, that's on me. But if I make it worthwhile, then it's worthwhile.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that is in my my control, I guess. Yeah. But it's hard. Yeah. It's weird knowing that this pandemic has put so many people across the world in a similar enough situation that I'm like, I'm with you. It sucks being stuck inside, not seeing people, not being able to use your body to go out and just run or ride or walk or any of those things. It's really hard. So we better make it worth it.
Right. Well, and we're still given this time that we have. I mean, we got up this morning. We can, even if half the things we can't do today, there's a whole half of a thing that we can still rock and figure out a way and pivot, with what we've got.
For sure.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are in the process of writing choose your adventure novels. I love that.
Yeah.
Is that something like, I mean, I remember that as a kid, there being, different endings. And is that what that is? That's what I think of when I think of choose your own adventure.
Yeah, exactly. You read so much, and then you're faced with a decision, a choice. And then depending on what you choose, you go to a different page, and that is going to direct how the story ends or ties into another storyline. And so it's really experiential, and it's really fun.
What is that like? I mean, basically you're having to write how many different stories per book? You know what I mean? Like, how many?
29.
What?
I don't know why I didn't do 30, but yeah. So writing 29 short stories effectively. Yeah.
That all then somehow have to tie back to the beginning, to the same. Oh, yeah, it makes my head hurt just thinking about it.
Well, I was worried, like when I don't know, realized that the ideas of and these are choose your own adventure comics. They're graphic novels, so they're so we've got all the pictures that are part of it. But I realized early on, like, yeah, I want to focus on the fun, and I want to make sure I'm not getting stressed out, because that would be very easy. Just it's already complicated enough. So I found a way that works for me that's pretty simple and straightforward, but it's really fun to play off of. There's one kid, for example, his character, he's a side character, but every time he comes into the storyline, he's trying to, this is for 4th to 8th graders, so young graders. And this kid is constantly trying to tell people how much money he has. We're so rich. We got all this money. You guys just want to be like me because I'm so rich. But in certain storylines, certain characters need money, and he's like, I don't have anything. And so I get to play up that same aspect of the character and put him in different light, you know? And
Oh.
it's still the same character, but it kind of changes the way that what you know about that character. You know he has money, but now he's starting to hide that. And that's just kind of a playful thing to slip in there, those kinds of things.
Well, and truly our lives are basically the same thing, right? We're living a choose your own adventure.
Yeah.
And it must be really interesting and maybe even a little cathartic to think through all the other, options. Sometimes I think we go through life and think that, this is the only road we can go down without taking the time to go, well, wait a minute, maybe there's 5 different options here. Maybe this isn't, the only one. I think for me, that's been one of the great things about the quarantine is it forced me to take the road that I thought I was on and flip it upside down and go, okay, well, maybe if it doesn't look this way anymore, what are the other options here?
Yeah.
I can see how that might actually be really, really fun and purposeful for some people to sit back and look at their life a little bit differently that way.
I mean, I hope so. The main character, her name is Megan, and so you make Megan's choices for her, and so the story is dependent on what you choose for Megan to do. And at first, I wanted her to be not a goody, but just a good kid, a good girl. And I got far enough into writing different storylines that I was like, well, it's not really fun if she always just chooses the right thing. And if I wanted to make it like, the moral of the story is, and really like hammer that in, I could have gone that way. But instead I thought, what if her crush comes into play? What if some of her friends are involved in something that she doesn't want to be a part of? And they're all really goofy things. But I tried to tug at those parts of her that would really want to do something that she knows she really shouldn't do, but she really wants to. And so how can I make that funny, but also clear that she's crossing a line? And that's been really fun to write, actually, and explore. Yeah, with 29 different endings, some of them are more of like a romance story. Some are more of like a horror story. They're spooky. Some are adventures or like mysteries. And it's all the same story that revolves around just a theme for each of the books. So it's been really fun to explore, yeah.
Do you, I know one of the things that Frances would do when she would write is she would come downstairs and she would read some to the boys. She had 2 sons.
Yeah.
Do you read to your kids? Do you let them see your stuff? Are they critics, or like I know Vivian and Lionel didn't like her earlier stuff because it was all made for adults, and they were like, "Can you please stop with the love stories?" Which I don't think most people know that, but Frances was actually mostly a romance novel writer. I think probably 90% of her books were actually, romance stories. But she's known for her children's books. But it was the kids who really said, "Can you please write something that we would want to listen to?"
Wow, that's fascinating. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. Yeah, my kids, I usually avoid if there's something like a funny face I drew. Like Calvin and Hobbes has some really good facial expressions, that are just
Right.
hilarious. And so if I do something that like I'm pretty happy with, I'll just show that picture to the kids and they'll be like, "Oh," and then my 9-year-old will usually say, "Wait, why is she doing that? What happened?" And then she wants to know more, and I'll be like, "Well, I haven't drawn the rest of it yet." And she's like, "Well, just tell me what happened." So it is fun that they're involved. Sometimes I'll ask them like, "Okay, here's the situation. This could happen or this could happen. What would you guys, what would you want to do?" And then they have some fun ideas, and yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's so fun. One of my very first jobs, I worked for Crayola.
Oh,
But my son was very little. He was probably 3 years old. And it was kind of an occupational hazard because I'd have all of these, I guess, samples that were my work things, and trying to explain. I just remember trying to explain to a 3-year-old, "Hey, no, mommy's working. This is work stuff," and him being like, "Wait, no, this is these are my toys."
yeah.
But I can see how it was good because I could get his reactions and see, what he thought was cool, or what worked for him. But I can also see that you probably can also go down a million rat holes with kids, or rabbit holes, not rat holes, rabbit holes, with kids coming in with, a million different ideas, or, wait, this thing should go that way. And, it's still a job for you.
Yeah, I mean, usually what ends up happening is they check it out, they get excited, and then they want to go. My boy used to channel that excitement, that energy that came from looking at something and having that new experience and wanting to do something with it. He used to write, and now he wants to do flips on the trampoline, and he's gotten like really good at it. And I can open my window here and I can see him. And so he takes that excitement from reading something fun. He's like, I gotta go jump. I gotta go do this. And then my 9-year-old, she likes writing her own stories and drawing characters, and she likes sewing, and so she'll want to go make something. And then my almost 4-year-old, same thing. She wants to draw on the iPad that I'm working on, and
of course, yes.
Yeah. That's the Crayola for her.
Yes, that's that age too, for sure. Hey friends, I wanted to take a minute to tell you about Jess's latest book, Let's Make Comics. It's a lighthearted, interactive guide to comics and cartoon making that uses an activity book format to teach the fundamentals of cartooning in a fun and easy to follow fashion. From a working cartoonist and comic book making instructor, this all ages activity book uses humorous and informative one-page comics and exercises to guide young readers and readers who are young at heart through easy to master lessons on the skills needed to make comics. The activities cover a range of essential comic making tasks, from creating expressions for characters to filling in blank panels to creating original characters and placing them in adventures of their own. You can purchase this and all of the other books by Jess on Amazon. And now, back to my interview with Jess. Let's talk about growth in your life, and any life lessons that are hitting home right now, or any internal, personal, relationship, any kind of growth that you're seeing right now that is noticeable to you right now.
Yeah. I see a lot of growth in many areas, in many aspects. I mean, just looking at I'll go back to the books right now, because I had tried pitching them and just wasn't getting any. I didn't get any bites, and so that was kind of frustrating, because you have to put so much time into you know this, where like
a proposal.
A proposal. If you're going to put together a proposal for a publisher to publish something, if you just tell them your idea, the chances that the things you said and the way they understood them, the chances that they line up perfectly are like zero. It's not going to happen. So you have to make enough of the thing itself for them to actually see, maybe hold, go through, that they get a sense for the rest of it, the whole. And it's really time consuming, and there's a lot of effort, and it's you taking a chance. It's you putting time and effort and resources into a thing that has no guarantee. And it's if it's not getting picked up, that can be really frustrating. And the book did get picked up just before the pandemic, just about a month and a half before. And now what I can do is I can see the growth in the books, where before there were just these ideas. Mm-hmm. Now I have finished pages, and the way it works with graphic novels, at least, is there are all these steps you have to do. You have to submit a script, like a manuscript of, here's what happens on every page, here's all the action, here's all the main dialogue. Okay, and then you have to do thumbnails, which are just really simplified versions of what that looks like. Then you have to do inks, which are the final line artwork. Right. Then you do the final coloring, and then you add the final text, and there are a lot of steps. And so it makes me really happy to see that we're actually turning in finished pages now, and I can actually see, okay, I can actually measure this. And I can see this week I'm 20 pages closer to my goal than I was last week. And next week I'll be another 20 pages closer. And those daily, those routine, habitual acts are really important for me. I really struggle when there's not a routine. And so it's helpful, like we were talking about expectations. It's helpful to know, hey, if I do 4 pages today, then by the end of the week doing that, I'll have 20 pages. And I have that expectation, and I can hold myself to that. And then I can celebrate when it's met. Like, that's awesome. It worked out the way I thought it would work. And that's worth acknowledging, I think. So that was a long answer. Sorry, but that's.
No, I love it. I had no idea the amount. I mean, I know from writing a book that it is the hardest thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I'm only 2 drafts in. So I can't, adding the layers of all the other things that you were just talking about. I mean, it's clearly has to be a labor of love, because like you said, it's a risk. And I think sometimes people are afraid to put in that much work on something that's not guaranteed, what is it that fuels that for you? What is it? Is it just the completion of the project? Is it just this burning desire to see this idea through? Is it, like you said, a goal that you've just set? Is it the monetary? What is it that keeps you moving forward? Like, would you do it if there wasn't a contract on the other side?
Right. Yeah, that's a really good question. That's another one of those things where I don't understand the mechanism. I appreciate it when it works, and I'm grateful, and I try and pay attention for when it works. So are you asking, like, what keeps me going on? Yeah, keeps working. Yeah. It's hard to say, but I think it's somewhere in the area of, I've always been big on intuition and trusting my gut. And I've seen that pay off more times than I've seen it not pay off when I followed through and acted on it. It's, yeah, certain sensibilities, it's certain projects when they come up, like this Choose Your Own Adventure series. Once I understand the idea well enough, it just won't go away. The ideas just won't go away. And that tells me, okay, I've got to do something with this. And that's not tied to money. That's not tied to anything outside of the thing itself, the thing that I want to make, the story that I want to tell, and the way that I want to tell it. And so, so then I get to focus on, like, oh, okay, so in my mind, I've gotten an idea for this thing that doesn't exist yet. And again, I get to use words and pictures to bring it into creation. Like, that is so fascinating to me. So then it's a matter of, okay, if this idea is not going away, I've got to make myself useful. And then I have to think about it practically. Okay, I've I've got to send it to my agent so she can get it to publishers, so that not only does it work well for me right now, but it works well for my family long term. I'm big on sustainability, and I love, with The Secret Garden, like in that book, there is such a focus on and a celebration of life and joy and goodness, these things that you're also focusing on. And it's just fascinating that when the characters in the story focus on the things that are growing, there's so much more life, there's so much more joy, there's vitality in what they're doing. And I feel the same way. If I feel that I work on something, I spend time with ideas, and I feel, what's the word for it? Not necessarily improved by, but I feel them like build onto my life somehow.
Yeah.
Well, that's meaning. That's meaningful, and so I should pursue that. And there are other ideas that I explore, and I feel that they don't go anywhere, and that tells me, okay, maybe that's for future Jess.
Yeah.
Which, thank heavens, I did all that stuff in my sketchbook, because later on I can go back and see it, and then I'll go, oh, I think I know where I was going with that now. But at the time, that wasn't a project for me. So yeah, I guess if the ideas don't go away, and I feel that things make more sense with those ideas in my life, then I better do something with them. There's
Well, no, I love that, because we all have intuition in some way, whether we consider ourselves creatives or not. We all have those things that I think nag us, and our heart's desire is there. I think, unfortunately, too many people aren't listening to that still quiet voice inside. Let me ask you this. Once you turn in your book, do the characters still hold on? Like, do you still find yourself continuing to write it once you go through? Frances used to talk about how she would literally put the manuscript in the mail to her publisher, and she'd be walking away from the box, and a character would start showing up and having a conversation with her, and she would talk back and say, "You're too late. I'm so sorry.
Wow.
If you wanted to be in this book, you should have showed up 2 days ago, because it's moved on now." Do you find yourself holding on to any of the characters?
Yeah, for sure. And I think it would be less like holding on to them, and more kind of like Frances's experience, where they just show up.
Right.
And that's, there's a songwriter, Tom Waits. Have you heard of him?
No, I don't think so. Maybe I've heard his stuff.
Yeah, maybe. He's a beautiful songwriter. And he talks about sometimes he'll be driving and he'll get ideas for a melody, for a turn of phrase, for something, and he'll say, "Now's not a good time." If he says he's talking to the muse. If it's that important, then come back later.
Which that never works for me, though. I think I know I have done that. I've thought that. I've woken up in the middle of the night and think, oh, if it's that important, I will remember it in the morning, and then I never do. Like, if I don't write it down, I'm in trouble. It's out.
Right. Yeah. Well, and journals, and I use my sketchbooks like journals, like they keep a record of those things. They're still alive. You open the page and it's like they're frozen alive. They're living right there on the page whenever you look at them, whenever you think of them. And so, yeah, I definitely have characters that are still speaking to me, and that's actually a really good thing, because that lets me know they came from a meaningful place. They weren't just, because one way of creating anything is to just look at it as a product from a business perspective, and
almost.
Just think, how do I get the most people involved? And you think from the outside in. And in my sketchbook, if I'm just doodling, I'm not drawing for a book, I'm not coming up with ideas, I'm just doodling. I love just Paul Clay taking a line for a walk. Let's see what happens. that's where all my best ideas have come from, and all the ideas that have withstood the test of time, maybe, and connected with other people. So yeah, there's definitely something to intuition, and there's something to keeping a record of ideas and paying attention to which ideas aren't going away, and there must be something to it.
Yeah, I always tell people, if something's being repeated around you, then take notice. Like, whether it's, it's the same thing coming up, same thought process, two different people telling you the same thing. I feel like I think the muse, or wherever the inspiration comes from, they're usually quite persistent if it's important, if it's the right road. Rarely do they drop a bomb and then move on, and you're supposed to run with the ball. It's usually that constant feeding of that inspiration.
Yeah, definitely.
To get you to the finish line. Well, speaking of finish line, I think we are done here. Thank you so much for coming on today to talk about your joy, goodness, and growth. You have such a wonderful perspective. Everything you do on social media makes me smile, and just reminds me that, we don't have excuses as to why we're not doing good things and putting joy and goodness out in the world. We can do it anywhere and from any place, including a bed. So thank you just for being here, but also just for continuing to shine your light, even when sometimes I know it can be dark in there too.
That's really kind of you to say. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I feel the same with your posts, what I've seen on Instagram and YouTube, and if you get on a live video, anything that you've written, I feel that same sense of, I feel like I've been added to. Reading your post doesn't take away from me. It adds to me, and it solidifies something that's really important to me, and I appreciate it.
Okay. And I was going to say, we just realized did not talk about my rude great-great-grandmother.
Yeah.
So please tell people how Frances offended you.
Yes. Well, yeah, we're both on the same page. So I read The Secret Garden in September of 2019. That was my first time.
Awesome.
My introduction to it was the musical, and then the
so good.
Oh man, and I bawl every time. I'm grateful for it because it pulls at all the best themes. Yeah, there's a section from Colin. Colin says, Mother says there's no reason why any child should live that gets no fresh air and doesn't do nothing but lie on his back and read picture books and take medicine. That's me. He was
your life in the flesh.
Yeah. And I just thought that was so funny. And she has such a wonderful sense of humor in her writing, because there's so many levels and layers to it that are all true. And so it just resonates in this wonderful, vibrant way. But she insulted me terribly.
I am so sorry.
Yeah, it was awful.
But you know what? And what I've loved, my journey with Frances is because she continues to connect me with people on my path that make me better. And so I am thankful for her words, connecting you to me and now you to my audience. Tell people how they can follow you or buy your books or, see all the cool things that you're doing.
Well, first off, if you didn't like what I said, you can write your complaint on a $100 bill and send it to my address. And my address is, just kidding. That's where you can follow me because I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
Yeah, I'm on Instagram and Facebook mostly, and you can just look up Jess Smart Smiley. I haven't run into any other Jess Smart Smileys yet. Pretty easy to find.
It's a pretty fabulous name, and he has an awesome cartoon character of himself in in the icon. So he's not easy to miss. It's pretty awesome. And then they can find your books on your website or on Amazon. Where can they pick those up?
Yeah, definitely like local bookstores. Amazon, Barnes and Noble have them. I'm always really terrible at selling my books, but I do hope people pick them up, because I mean what I wrote, and I mean what I drew. Like it's sincere. So I hope it connects with whoever picks them up. But the last book. Do you mind if I say something about the last book?
Yes, this is half your show. Go for it. Promote away.
Thank you. Well, the last book is called Let's Make Comics. And so instead of being a story like all the others are, this is an activity book. I never thought I'd make an activity book. But it's a collection of activities I made that are incomplete comics. So,
cool.
So for example, there might be 3 panels that tell a story, and then the ending, the last panel is empty, it's blank. So it only works when you complete the story, and we make that together. We participate in this. My goal is to turn storytelling into a game. So you get to make your own characters, you get to come up with your own stories, you get to change my drawings, so you're not precious about ruining your drawings. You can ruin my drawings. Go for it.
Oh, that's fun.
And all the pages are designed at regular printer paper size, copy paper size.
Oh,
so you
cool.
can use for a class or for a club or a school group. It's really meant to be used. Like let's explore story. How to use words and pictures to communicate. That's what it is. So
what age would you say, if someone has kids or grandkids, what age and would be great for this book?
Yeah, so the biggest response has been from probably ages 8 to 12. That's like the core group, but teenagers love it. And I've even had professional like probably a couple dozen professional comics creators who told me, like, man, if I would have had this as a teenager, because they're also practical skills, like how do you ink, how do you use a pen versus a brush versus a marker versus a pencil, but in a really fun way. Like there's a dot to dot section, but you're not allowed to
love dot to dot.
They're so fun. It's so satisfying. But my dot to dot, you're not allowed to use straight lines.
Oh.
You're not making a picture of anything. You are, like I said before, taking a line for a walk. Use zigzags, use swirls and curves, and you're just exploring, putting your pencil down on the paper and seeing what happens. And hopefully it's a fun game that you learn from. Yeah. Well,
that might be a fun like family activity between, even a grandparent and a grandchild, to be able to sit down together and do something and have those conversations. Yeah. Thank you again for coming. I sincerely appreciate it. You taking your time. Also, thank you everyone for listening and watching. Don't forget, you can find this on your podcast channels, as well as on our YouTube channel at The Well-Tended Life. So make sure you go and subscribe there. At the end of the day, my hope is that someone out there today was watching this and listening, and that your eyes are now open to the joy, goodness, and growth that's happening around you just by hearing the stories of Jess today. So anything else? You got any other words of wisdom before we leave? That's it. We're all tapped out.
You no, I think we just keep going, and we keep looking for ways to help each other keep going. So, and you're doing a wonderful job. I love everything you're doing. Thank you.
Awesome. All right. Until next time, y'all. Blessings and blooms. Bye-bye. Thank you. Oh my goodness, y'all. I had so much fun talking with Jess today. He is such an inspiration to me, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I'm so glad that my great-great-grandmother insulted him so that I could share his wisdom with all of you. If you want to learn more about him, check out his website, jesssmiley.com. That's JESS-Smiley, SMILEY.com. And also take a minute and go like and follow him on social media as Jess Smart Smiley. And don't miss our next episode in this series about joy, goodness, and growth as I interview mama and maker Randy Hanlon of Indigo Lane & Co. During our time together, she chats with us about how big gratitude is helping her in this season of rest. And y'all, her encouraging spirit throughout the episode will have you either ready to take on the world or just take your next breath with a new, fresh set of eyes. So make sure to follow The Well-Tended Life on Instagram and Facebook, and subscribe today to our YouTube and podcast channels by the same name. And until next time, y'all, blessings and blooms.